Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a completely fascinating Bengali fairy tale that honestly holds a remarkably profound lesson for all of us. You know how most fairy tales just end with a vague happily ever after and totally leave us guessing about how they actually pulled it off? Well, as we peel back the layers of this particular story, you're going to see it's actually a brilliant, incredibly practical blueprint. It shows us how our daily habits, our diets, and our sense of community literally shape the physical world we live in. We're going to decode the real secret to true happiness by looking at the very specific behaviors that build a society from the ground up.
So we kick things off with this ultimate question. Our story begins with a young princess who's currently in training to rule. She's been meticulously educated by her wise teacher on all the heavy, serious subjects, right? War, economics, politics, the whole shebang. But she realizes something crucial is missing. She turns to her teacher and asks a question that goes way beyond standard statecraft. What exactly makes a kingdom truly happy? I mean, it's a phenomenal question, because having a massive military or a booming economy definitely doesn't automatically mean your citizens are actually experiencing joy in their daily lives. Now, instead of just handing her a textbook answer or giving a long lecture, her teacher gives her a really unique challenge. He tells her that the absolute best answers in life are the ones you go out and find for yourself. So he instructs her to leave the comfort of the palace, travel across different lands, and closely observe the everyday people. To really understand happiness, she needs to see how regular folks actually live out their daily lives. As she begins her travels, her first stop is this bizarre, frantic place known as the Cursed Land. And right away, the vibe is just incredibly toxic. Everyone is rushed, they're frantic, they're angry, people are literally arguing in the streets, and it seems like absolutely no one has time for anything or anyone. But then, she travels over to a neighboring land called Dakota, which people often refer to as the Blessed Land. And the contrast? It's night and day. The locals in Dakota are polite, they're relaxed, and they're just incredibly welcoming to strangers. And this stark contrast extends right down to their daily routine habits. It all starts with the kids. In the Cursed Land, the princess actually watches kids trading perfectly good apples for marshmallows, which, okay, admittedly is an 8-year-old's dream, but nutritionally, it's a complete nightmare. They're just tossing their vegetables away. Meanwhile, over in Kokoda, the children are happily snacking on fresh fruit, yogurt, and this homemade vegetable cake baked by their mothers. So the very foundation of their physical health is completely different from a super young age. Think about the last time you were totally lost in a new city. Happens to all of us, right? Well, when the princess asks for directions in the Cursed Land, a local literally snaps at her, and another person actually has the nerve to complain that old people are just wasting the king's time. It's unbelievably rude and just so self-centered. But over in Dakota, the second they realize she's a tourist, they warmly invite her inside to rest. They offer her free, fresh food, and they even pack her a lunch for the road, absolutely insisting that taking care of guests is their joyful duty. Completely baffled by these wild extremes, the princess heads back to our teacher and asks the obvious question, who cursed the first land and who blessed Dakota? But he throws her a curveball. He says, find a happy family in the Cursed Land and a sick person in Dakota. Then you will get your answer. He's basically challenging her to look way deeper than just those surface-level observations. Because, let's be real, anyone can be happy when things are absolutely perfect, but how do these societies function behind closed doors, especially when things go wrong? So, following the teacher's advice, the princess pulls an undercover boss move. She heads back to the Cursed Land, finds this wealthy, supposedly well-off family, basically exactly what you'd assume is a happy family there, and she offers to work as their maid in exchange for a place to stay. This gives her the perfect front-row seat to quietly observe their private, everyday lives. And wow, the reality of this supposedly happy family is far from it. Behind closed doors, it's pretty bleak. The mother just sits around gossiping negatively about her friend Martha's baking skills. She complains constantly that her workload is never-ending, yet she relies entirely on the new maid, the princess, to do literally all the cleaning and cooking. On top of all that, she projects her own misery by calling her husband lazy and constantly bickering with him. The environment inside the home is just as toxic as the angry streets outside. But the situation gets even more revealing when the mother tries to go to the market and the wheel falls off her carriage. A stranger, who just so happens to be visiting from Dakota, stops and totally selflessly fixes her wheel for her. Now, you'd expect a thank you, right? Nope. Instead, she comes home incredibly angry, complaining about her quote-unquote bad luck, and actually calling the kind stranger nosy and stupid for slowing down her rushed schedule. She is entirely 100% blind to the goodness right in front of her.
Having definitely seen enough of the cursed land's misery, the princess travels back to Dakota to fulfill the second half of her teacher's challenge. She needs to find someone who is sick. She really wants to see how this supposedly perfect, blessed land handles stress, illness, and real adversity. Does their happiness actually hold up when things go off script?
While in Dakota, she finds a home where a sweet little girl named Sona is sick in bed with a fever. But pay attention to how this blessed land handles the adversity. It's all done with such grace. The mother isn't complaining or stressing out. She is patiently feeding her daughter this warm, nutritious vegetable soup to help her regain her strength. And little Sona, she isn't throwing a tantrum at all. She's taking her medicine and focusing entirely on getting better. Why? Specifically, so she can bake a vegetable cake to thank the neighbors who have been helping her family out. The whole mindset in that house is just completely focused on healing and gratitude.
And you know, this deep empathy extends way beyond the walls of the home and right into the wider community. Later that very same day, Sona's father comes home from the farm surprisingly early. Why is he home early? Because his neighbors, Daniel and Remo, heard his daughter was sick. Completely unprompted, they just stepped in and helped him finish his farm work so he could go home and be with his family. Unlike the isolated, selfish struggles in the cursed land where everyone feels like a burden to everyone else, Dakota absolutely thrives on this kind of proactive, empathetic community support.
So when we step back and look at the big picture, side by side, it becomes crystal clear exactly why these two kingdoms experience such vastly different realities. In the cursed land, the diet is purely junk food, the attitude is constantly rushed and ungrateful, and the community is completely selfish. But in Dakota, they prioritize fresh, nutritious meals, they maintain a patient and joyful attitude even when things are tough, and their community is deeply inherently supportive. The contrast here is structural. It's definitely not accidental.
Which brings us to this really profound realization from the story. This is kind of the mic drop moment. The princess finally realizes that the curse of the cursed land isn't some magical hex cast down from the sky. It is a completely self-made environment. It's the direct, compounded result of poor diets, ingrained selfishness, and a total lack of daily discipline and empathy. They are literally cursing themselves every single day through their own habits.
Empowered by this incredible insight, the princess returns to her palace totally ready to lead. She gathers all the teachers in her kingdom and issues a brand new royal mandate for the schools. From now on, education isn't just going to be about politics and math. She lays out 3 non-negotiable steps. Schools must actively teach children about physical health and good diets. They have to educate them on mental well-being and how to actually find joy. And they must meticulously foster good habits and positive community behavior. She realizes that a happy society doesn't just happen by accident. It has to be taught and practiced every day.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer on this really beautiful tale. But the lesson here is highly practical for all of us today. Take a real look at your diet, your patience, and how you treat the people in your neighborhood. I want to leave you with this one thought to reflect on. Are your daily habits building a cursed land or a blessed one? Thanks so much for joining me today, and I really hope this sparks some great reflections on how you're shaping your own world.